I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone who is taking their time to look at this presentation. This presentation is a summary of the theory of enhancement, work that I've been doing for quite a few years. It is work that is based on the understanding of the formation and expansion of the universe. This is not entirely something new, but it's something, or it is work that is building on something that has already been there. So take your time, ask questions, criticize, or if you find an angle and you see something that is shedding light on what you've been doing, then let's collaborate, let's work, let's continue, so that at the end of the day we can understand where we are, where we come from, and in a manner that is beneficial to everyone. It is very, very interesting that such work has been triggered by curiosity, because most of us have a lot of questions about how did the environment come about. What is holding everything and supporting life as it is? What is everything, and why is everything not the same? The questions may be endless and the answers uniquely different, but scientifically, we build up from previous knowledge and grow from there. This is therefore my contribution to the body of knowledge, presenting an opportunity to practically look deeper and much further using the framework of the table of nuclear enhancement. There is a link of the published article at the end of the video. And on the main page of this channel, additional links are posted providing supporting material to this work. So by all means, we're going to try to simplify this presentation in a manner that is going to make you to understand, or maybe want to understand more. So we are going to start from the beginning. Mass. Mass is generally defined as a large body of matter with no definite shape. In this theory, mass is found to be the foundation of the entire universe, and the universe is its expression. This means mass transforms from a dense state to a light state, and during this transformation it earns many names: dark matter, anti-dark matter, something that we need to be clarifying shortly, matter, and antimatter. See, mass has to liberate itself. It has to transform itself so that it can fulfill itself. There is also a force and a law that governs mass at rest. Now this is where things start to become interesting, because when we're looking at the laws of motion, we're really talking about motion that we can evidently see and account for. However, there is subliminal motion that leads to the decay of mass. And the decay of mass leads to mass being in motion. This force that is holding mass at rest is the root force, because it is at the beginning of everything else. And the motion that is subliminal at that level of mass is the subliminal law of motion. We are accounting for all of this in the paper. So visit the paper to find more clarity, and come back and let's discuss and engage on this subject. Mass is at rest before transformation and after completely transforming. So why is mass at rest? Mass is at rest and needs to liberate itself first. And again, mass gets to be at rest because mass has now fulfilled itself. Meaning, when mass is 100% dense, is at rest. It is at rest. And when mass is 100% light, it is also at rest. In between, mass is in motion. And as previously said, many names have been given to it. We are not here speaking about mass in terms of the measure of mass, kilograms, milligrams, or pounds, or whatever. We are speaking of mass as defined earlier. The root force causes the process commonly known as particle decay and leads to the first movement of mass known as dark matter. When mass gets in motion for the very first time, at that level it is dark matter. And when mass is in motion at the level of dark matter, it is propelled by the force of gravity. So now the root force caused mass to decay, and then the breakaway started. But immediately during that breakaway, where something that's been happening to mass subliminally starts to show, the force responsible is the force of gravity. And the law responsible is the first law of motion. Let's look at dark matter. Dark matter is governed by the first law of motion, the second law of motion, the supportive law. The supportive law of motion is a law also that is accounted for by the theory of enhancement, leading to the balance that we see today, that leads to the formation of dark matter and antiparticles. And therefore the third law follows. The force responsible for dark matter is the force of gravity. And now we are going to look at the first wave of dark matter. The first wave of dark matter resulted from the decay of mass, and it is therefore the first motion of mass. This wave drifts until to a point where it collides with itself. This collision of the first wave of dark matter happens as a result of the law of motion governing dark matter at this level and the force propelling dark matter at this level, and that is the force of gravity. The law is the first law of motion. So when the first wave of dark matter fulfills, it triggers the second law, the second wave of dark matter. The second wave of dark matter is governed by the second law of motion. Now, as you can see, when the first wave, the outer motion, collides with itself, it creates a motion that goes internally. And there's another motion that we have to account for that goes externally, because there's a collision here. So this is forming the second wave of dark matter, and the external wave is forming the first wave of anti-dark matter. So the second wave is regulated by the second law of motion when the first wave of anti-dark matter is therefore fulfilled by the supportive law. It happens because there's a law that regulates this support mechanism here going on here. So the second law of motion would not fulfill if this was not balanced. And this is why we have the supportive law of motion. It is accounted for from this point going on. So here we are showing that the first wave of dark matter has occurred, and internally there's the second wave that happened, because when the collision of the first wave occurred, the second wave, as you can see, has now balanced itself with the supportive law of motion on the other side, creating the anti-dark matter first wave. So this is how the environment itself seeks to balance and fulfill itself. And this second wave is fulfilled by the second law of motion and the force of gravity. Anti-dark matter is just simply opposite dark matter, ensuring that everything remains in place. Now we look at the third wave of dark matter. In the third wave of dark matter, the second wave has fulfilled and the third wave forms. When the first wave has fulfilled on anti-dark matter, on the portion of anti-dark matter, the second wave of anti-dark matter fulfills. But at this point, when the second wave of anti-dark matter happens, it finds that there's already dark matter on the other side, so there's balance. And therefore, the third wave fulfills. The third wave of dark matter is governed by the third law of motion, as it is already balancing, and the second wave of anti-dark matter is governed by the second law of motion. However, it does not need to recreate using the supportive law of motion. It has already done that and it is in balance. So now we continue. What has happened here, as you can see, we have the first wave. Inside the first wave, we have the second wave. Inside the second wave, we have the third wave. Balancing the second wave was the first wave of dark matter, and inside the first wave of dark matter, we have the second wave. It is the first wave of anti-dark matter, and inside it, we have the second wave of anti-dark matter. This is primarily done to balance the environment. So the environment is responsible for balancing itself. And we come to the formation of the nucleus. Now, the nucleus forms at the most deeper level of the third wave of dark matter. However, the formation of the nucleus from dark matter, it creates particles. And the formation of the nucleus from anti-dark matter creates antiparticles. And this will be clarified shortly. Now, as you can see here, antiparticles are red here, formed from the formation of anti-dark matter, and they form from the second wave of dark matter. Particles are forming from the third wave of dark matter, and there they are, opposite each other, the way it is. This anti-dark matter is more like in a race to balance this environment. So now the antiparticles are forever trying to match the particles. Now, when you look at how has everything come about, we're moving from the outermost part of the environment to the deepest part of the environment, where we are moving from wave 1 of dark matter, the second wave of dark matter, and the third wave of dark matter to form the neutron, the proton, and the electron. On the other side, we have moved from the first wave of anti-dark matter, the second wave of anti-dark matter, to form anti-neutron, anti-proton, and the positron. So this is just a zoom in of what is happening deep inside the environment. So particles and antiparticles are in the deepest level of the environment, and everything is held by mass. From mass is dark matter, balanced by anti-dark matter, forming particles balanced by antiparticles. We are now therefore moving to the enhancement level. This part is where we concentrate on particle decay, because the environment continuously enhances itself so that it can be able to balance the third wave of dark matter, the second wave of dark matter, and ultimately the first wave of dark matter, and break free to exist hand in hand with mass. So here we started with the antiparticles of the solar system, and therefore we have the particles of the solar level. Here we are looking at the fifth level, which is the fulfilled level. Go to check the table of the nuclear enhancement, and you will see how everything builds up. The mathematics supporting this formation is there. Look at it, understand it, and it makes sense because now the particles formed from the third wave of dark matter, and the antiparticles formed from the second wave of dark matter, the energy is different. We continue now to the galactic particles. The galactic particles are now forming after the solar level is fulfilled. as much as the antiparticles of the galactic level balancing the particles of the galactic level. When this also fulfilled, like from the solar level, it fulfills to conquer the third wave of dark matter. And now, this is going to fulfill to conquer the second wave of dark matter, the particles. And the antiparticles continue to balance the particles. And finally, we have universal particles. Universal particles form after the galactic particles are fulfilled. Also, what we observe from the universal particles is that it gives us the unified force field of the environment, where it actually conquers the force of gravity. It's where mass liberates itself. It is balanced. The particles of the universe are balanced by the antiparticles of the universe in the same manner. And this, as observed here, is nicely detailed in the published paper. Look at it. The summary has only concentrated on the fulfilled levels of each and every level, like the solar, the galactic, and the universal. And to summarize all of this, the environment looks like this. On the deepest part, you have the nucleus forming, both nucleus. On top there, we have the nucleus of particles forming. Opposite it, we have the nucleus of antiparticles forming. And then another, the enhancement happens in the second environment where the universe is expanding and growing. We have the solar level. And therefore, it continues to the third level there, where the nucleus is enhancing and the environment is expanding on the level of particles and on the level of antiparticles. So the galactic level is forming. And where it fulfills, we have particles of the universe and antiparticles of the universe balancing each other to form the environment. And what we see at the center there is a nucleus that has been enhanced and is free. So now at this point, mass is at rest. It is fulfilled. It is complete light. And it clarifies the fact that mass wanted to liberate. It wanted to overcome the dense state that it was in so that it could be light. And throughout the entire process, we have learned the forces that it uses to get to this point, the laws that it fulfills to get to this point. And now we can start to work and understand and see how can we assimilate. What can we practicalize? There's more to be done, and we are going to do it. Thank you, everyone, and follow all the links and study the work if you find it fascinating and interesting as I do, so that we can continue. Subscribe to the channel so that you can get future content. The Theory of Enhancement is just the beginning of it, you know. This is a summary, like I said. It's not the detailed work. The following presentation will focus only on dark matter. And we'll put another presentation that focuses on the formation of the nucleus so that we can delve deeper there. As we go to the enhancement levels, we look at the solar system alone, and then the galactic system alone, and finally the universal system. I thank you all.